Live.
Welcome everyone to the Fortress of Comic News. I am Chris. This guy here
I'm
is
Mike.
Mike.
That was my best Transformer transforming noise I can make.
Oh God,
It
don't
was like
remind me.
that's all I got. Hey, speaking of Transformers, there was that new trailer hit.
Yeah, I was hoping to forget about that.
All right, that's all we're gonna say is there's a new Transformers trailer out. Take that with what you want. Hey, it's episode 20, right?
Yeah,
Oh man,
we did it.
what a ride! Um, between all the technical difficulties, I think we're gonna have a good show today. I got a new webcam. I got a brand new webcam. My cord for my mic won't make me sound like James Earl Jones. Which it's not always a bad thing to sound like James Earl Jones. Um,
No, it's not.
I,
I'm sure the ladies loved it.
for all the ladies out there. Um, yeah, my BB King voice changer is working. Good to know on that last episode. Um, all right, so today's the awards episode.
Yes, today is our end of the year awards episode, so we're gonna do a couple categories, and because it's just Mike and myself, we're not doing an overall. This is the best for Fortress of Comic News. We're doing individual. Um, it saves us a lot of arguing.
Yeah, because I hate what Chris likes. Chris hates what I like, so you know.
Um, so yeah, let's start. Let's start with the Glamour Awards, right?
Yeah, the
Let's do
sure.
Best Writer.
Best writers. So we do the top three for each of these categories.
Yes. So for each one,
And
we're
this
gonna
is
do
the
the
best.
top three, and we're gonna start at three and go up.
If anybody's confused, this is the best writer of comic books. So if anybody's out there like, yeah, they pick J.R.R. Tolkien, Lord of the Rings, so that's a novel writer. Everybody.
And he died like 100 years
um,
ago.
yep. And yeah, that's probably we probably shouldn't talk about J.R.R. Tolkien dead, but oh well. I was trying to think of a more relevant writer. George R. R. Martin. Yeah, they pick George R. R. Martin. He writes.
So
But
yeah,
anyways, okay. So my
everything here
number
is
three.
comic related.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. If you couldn't tell already. Um, number three is Josh Williamson is who I picked.
Okay. What has Josh Williamson done this year?
Josh Williamson writes Birthright. He also writes The Flash right now. And I think one more book that I can't think of right now, but I'm putting him on there for Birthright specifically.
Okay. That explains why
Which are,
I don't recognize the name that well. I know the name,
yeah.
but I don't read any of his books. So my number three, we're going with Brian K. Vaughan, Saga. I mean, come on.
Oh well, yeah,
I mean,
sure.
that Saga had to be on there somewhere. So
Yep. I don't think he really needs any introduction. Brian K. Vaughan, master of all writing.
so you're number two.
My number two is Scott Snyder because not only is he writing All Star Batman right now, he wrote the New 52 Batman, which was still part of 2016. Um, not only was he writing New 52 Batman, but he was so good at writing Batman, they're like, hey, we're taking you off the Batman book, but we want to put you on this other Batman book just to keep you around. His New 52 Batman run is probably one of the most epic stories. And yeah, I mean, he did Witches too. He's a good horror comic writer.
Yeah, I was gonna
Yeah,
say Witches. I really like Witches, and I really like American Vampire as well. If you haven't read
yeah, I
that,
never read that. I got to get into it. But
it's
also
really
his,
good. It's really good.
is it?
And he did AD After Death too this year. He only the first book was released, but
Hmm.
worth
Yeah, I
checking
forgot about
out.
that.
And that's a segue to my number two because the other person on AD After Death was Jeff Lemire.
Oh,
Jeff Lemire, who did Moon Knight most famously this year. One of my favorite books didn't one of my favorite books that I've never thought I would read, because Moon Knight's kind of a meh character in my eyes. But love his version of Moon Knight, and also he did or is doing Black Hammer. Which, if you're not reading Black Hammer and you're an old school like Golden Age DC fan, start picking that book up because it's really a bunch of callbacks to like old school DC.
Um, yeah, I don't know much about Moon Knight, but I think from what I've gathered in the Marvel universe, he's a shit character until he started writing him.
Well, him and I think it was Garth Ennis wrote him too, and that recently, and that was like a run that people hold in esteem.
Yeah. Number three or number one.
Number one.
I'm sorry. Um, Tom King is my number one writer of 2016.
Okay.
Tom King wrote. He started with Marvel, writing a really good story about the Vision. They gave him a bunch of characters that nobody cared about in the Omega Men, and then the Omega Men became one of the best graphic novels of the year. And then he took over Batman, as everybody knows. He's writing Batman Rebirth, and that guy, he can write whatever's going on my gravestone. He's going to write it. I'm just going to write my eulogy for my death. He can just take all those things and write them.
Good. I need someone to write.
He's fantastic. Thanks.
Okay. I went a little bit different route. Jason Aaron. Probably going to go down as one of my favorite writers of all time. This year, going with Thor, Goddess of Thunder, The Goddamned, Southern Bastards, as well as others here and there. Just a fantastic writer. Someone that has got me into superheroes I never thought I would read, like Thor, like Doctor Strange. I've even considered going back and reading his Wolverine run. I like him that much. So I would give it to Jason Aaron this year.
He also, it's notable that he has a fantastic beard.
Oh yeah, and he has
all the writers.
Him and Robert Kirkman had the same theory. They said they grew their beards because all their favorite writers had beards.
Uh-huh.
Most notably, Alan Moore.
Alan Moore had the most ridiculous beard.
Yeah, so they both were just like, I need to grow a beard because you're not a great writer unless you have a beard.
And look how well they did.
Yeah. So, from Best Writer, we will move over to Best Artiste.
All right.
You're number 3.
Okay, so my number 3 best artist is Andre Bresson, who drew Birthright. Who was drawing Birthright.
Okay.
I don't think there's really just the amount of lore and to be able to take like fantasy characters and draw them in the real world. I mean, it's making two different worlds collide. But damn, his art is so fantastic.
My number 3, who I think will also be on your list, but I'm not sure. But my number 3 is Greg Capullo.
Okay.
I love what he did with New 52 Batman. It was always, his issues were always great. And then what really pushed over top for me is Reborn. His work in Reborn is just head over heels better than anything he's ever done and anything I've seen in a long time. So, number 3 is going to him.
So you sure you want to put him as number 3, huh?
Oh yeah, and
okay.
Also, New York proud.
Yeah,
because I wear an Eagles hat.
He's Central New York. Yeah, I was actually in the town where he lives this weekend. I wasn't stalking him or anything, I swear.
Oh, you were.
My number 2 is Dan Mora from Klaus, the Grant Morrison book. So he's almost drawing the same character as the character from Birthright. So, but damn, that art is so good. It's so detailed, and if you're signing on to draw a book for Grant Morrison, you're most likely going to be a good artist. So, pick that book up, look at the pretty pictures.
And there is a new issue coming out this week.
Yep. Yes, my pick of the week, the Klaus one shot that's coming out.
My number 2 is going to Salvador Larroca. Salvador Larroca has worked on Star Wars Darth Vader, and I'm probably incorrect about this, but I'm pretty sure he's also on Dr. Aphra. Star Wars Vader is just it's the book I've wanted from Darth Vader forever. It's the book I keep pointing to say, like, this is the Vader I want in movies. And his art is just amazing. Like, everything he does with the characters and the different ships and interiors of the ships, it hits me right in the good spot.
Right in the good spot. It's got to be so much fun to draw spaceships for Star Wars. That's got to be like the best job ever.
Oh yeah.
Like, I wonder what I'm going to make this ship look like.
Everything in Star Wars is so simplistic, yet put together in a way that's complicated. It's weird to say, but like when you look at the backdrops in Star Wars, everything is like very simplistic, but like just flows really well. And he really did a good job with that.
All right. My number 1 artist of the year is Greg Capullo. Surprise. Just because that man is a friggin' genius. He drew my favorite Batman. And Reborn, he just gets to draw every type of character you can ever imagine, from samurais to fairies to like a giant cat warrior. So he's killing it right now with with all the stuff that he does. And he told me when I went to he was giving a speech for Batman Day. He said that when he started writing, when he started drawing, it shows in his latest comic that the hard part wasn't drawing like people or superheroes. He said he would go down to the bus stop with his pencil and paper, and he would just draw people walking by, and he would draw, the cars and the buildings and stuff like that, but he would just draw people all day. And it goes without saying that when you read one of his books, I mean, out of all the other artists, I think his characters are all different from each other. It's not like a copy-paste face structure like you see with some artists. It's like there's actually differences between characters.
Yeah.
That's that.
I hear that, and fingers and faces are always tough for people. That's what they force you to work on in art school.
Yeah, it's tough because it makes me not even want to draw at all. So there you go.
So my number 1 is Fiona Staples.
Ooh, good one.
Everyone wants to give it to her for Saga, and I will. Saga's amazing. But I also want to mention that she did the first arc for Archie with Mark Waid. And her work was just fantastic. I wish, as much as I don't want to lose her on Saga, I want to see her do more Archie, because the way she draws people in just normal situations is just better than anyone else out there.
Yeah, that Archie run was like super surprising.
Yeah, I can't believe it. It's so good that I'm not only just reading Archie, I'm reading Archie and Jughead.
Like, now you're invested in the whole universe of Archie. All right, what's next?
Next, your best mini/one shot of the year.
Yeah, you added that /one shot because of me, huh?
Yeah.
All right, number 3 on my list is Empress by Mark Miller. It's his take on a space epic /opera about a woman who's married to a crazy tyrant, and you come to find out that she has a backstory that we never knew about in the very last of the issues. So now we're gonna hopefully get some more issues about it. But it's just a 7 issues. I think it's 7 issues of just a chase scene of her running away from this galactic overlord, and it's pretty cool and involves some really cool characters.
Yeah, it's basically the flip side of Empire, if you've ever read that. Um, my number 3, and you make the joke that we did the one shot for you, but then it changed my mind. So Rebirth one shot.
Yeah,
That's without a doubt the best DC book to come out all year. It's
yep, easily.
just everything about it. It really sets up the universe well. There's a lot of great moments in it. They introduce the Watchmen characters very appropriately throughout it,
Hmm.
and have just enough mystery to want you to keep coming back for more.
Yeah, for sure. Um, and it might be the most bang for your buck if you're looking to buy one of these miniseries. Rebirth issue is it's just a single issue. Um, but yeah, you can't go wrong when you find out that the Watchmen and the DC characters that you know and love are all in one little universe. So that's pretty awesome. Number two, my number two is the Omega Men by Tom King. Because honestly, when the Omega Men came out, I didn't even pick it up because I was like, "Who the hell cares about the Omega Men?" And then everybody else was like, "Yeah, I mean, honestly, does anyone really care about the Omega Men?" But as you get more and more issues into it, I heard, "Wow, this friggin' book is amazing!" So I picked up the trade, and it is awesome. It's like the characters don't even have powers really, or superpowers. They're kind of just rebels fighting in the galaxy, and Kyle Rayner becomes like their prisoner and helps them out, but he's like observing them from his perspective. And obviously, if you're a Kyle Rayner Green Lantern fan, it's pretty awesome. But yeah, it made me care about these characters that had no idea who they were, or these new characters that they didn't have masks or capes. It's good. It's a nice change of pace for DC.
Should check that one out. My number 2, and this might be a little controversial because it's not done yet, but Dark Knight 3: The Master Race. Anyone who's listened to the show for 20 issues, 20 episodes knows that we are Dark Knight fanboys. But I really think that this one has kind of, as much as I don't agree with the hate for the second series, but this one's really redeemed it in my eyes. Everything about it, from the plot to the artwork down, has just been fantastic. And even the Last Crusade one shot that explains some things that happened before the first book. I can't talk enough about this book and how much I love it. So
hopefully they finish it.
And it's also been extended to 9 issues now, which is great.
Yeah, I and I really the last issue I would say I would agree with you that the actual story is really good, but as for those little Frank Miller mini comics that go along with it, I could probably do without those, especially the last issue.
I gotta say, and I hate saying it, and even saying this, I am well aware, everybody, that it's way better than anything I can draw. But his skills are very much diminished from what they used to be.
And it's not even that. Like, I understand he draws Wonder Woman, and I could kind of tell that Blob is Wonder Woman. But the last issue, there was like some fight scene going on between her daughter and her, and I was like, I could not even tell who was punching who, and I had no idea what was going on there.
I just love it's a story that I can honestly say I've never seen before, and it's one that I've always kind of been interested in. So like, what's going on in that Bottle City? Because I know they've
sure.
gone in there a few times, but I feel like if you were in that city, you'd be really pissed off too. So
oh yeah, you definitely be pissed. The city of Kandor, or Kandar, I can't remember.
I always say Kandor.
But they break out and they're pissed. So then Batman's like, "Well, good thing I have this kryptonite rain to spill all over these Kryptonians," and then he just beats the crap out of them. It's fantastic. I mean, there's more to it than just that, but I like, me, I like to pay attention to the punching in the face parts.
The punchy parts.
Okay, so oh, I'm sorry. The Omega Men was my number 1. I messed up. My number two was Klaus. I've talked about it before. Grant Morrison, Dan Mora. It's his take on the origin of Santa Claus, and it's really fantastic. It's fantasy oriented, a little darker than normal because obviously, if there's a Santa Claus, there has to be an evil version as well, good and evil. But yeah, pick up that book because it's fantastic.
So my number one is Star Wars Han Solo.
Oh,
This book follows. It's set somewhere in between episode 4 and 5, where the rebellion needs the Millennium Falcon to participate in a race, in which it just so happens this race, the different pit stops are where there are rebellion spies, and Han says, "Well, you can use my ship, but I'm going to be the one that flies it. Nobody else is going to fly it." And he goes in the race, and it's this great story of, there's the backstory of him picking up the different rebels, and there's a whole thing that happens there and a twist. But the real story is Han is a pilot and connecting with these other pilots in the race and just growing into the character that we see into episode 5 and 6, and realizing that he is in love with Leia and that he wants to be a part of the rebellion. So it was just one that really stuck with me personally. I really enjoyed it.
awesome. Plus, he's Han Solo. He's Han friggin' Solo, so.
Plus, there's, some Wookiee action in there. So.
Oh, yeah.
So this will be kind of the big baddie. Best ongoing.
Oh, yeah.
And this is best, just to clarify this, doesn't have to be one that started or ended in 2016. This is just best ongoing in the year.
Happening.
So happening. Because a lot of mine are on all ends of it. I'm sure yours are.
Yep. My number 3 is Saga, of course, by Brian K. Vaughan, Fiona Staples.
Okay.
I don't really think I need to explain it. Saga is just a fantastic book. If you're not reading it, then you're a big dum-dum. You're a dummy.
I feel like we talk about Saga every time it comes out, so.
Yeah.
My number 3 is Star Wars Vader. We went into it earlier. It's the Vader I've always wanted to see. Him in the Vader down part of the whole series, him taking down entire fleets of rebels, including ships, by himself. There's that great scene where the rebels announce, we have you surrounded, give up. And he says, all I'm surrounded by is fear and dead men, and then he kills everybody. If you can only read one thing out of the whole series, I would suggest picking up Vader Down, but that entire run is just amazing.
Awesome. When you read a Vader comic, do you the voice in your head, is it James Earl Jones?
Oh yeah.
That's how it is when I read a Batman comic. It's usually Kevin Conroy's voice.
Yeah, same here.
I am justice. I am the knight. Whatever Batman book it is. Sometimes it even happens with the '60s Batman comics. When I read that, I'm like, oh, this is weird. This is this Batman is, the weakest of them all. He should not have a dark, brooding voice like that. Okay, my number 2 ongoing is Batman: The Rebirth book written by Tom King. This is Batman. It's a more psychological Batman, to where we're learning more and more about him. The kind of ridiculousness of a guy dressing up as a bat and punching people in the face. But we also get 2 brand new characters, Gotham and Gotham Girl, which is crazy with a book that started in the 1940s, that you could still develop characters and get a good plot line out of it. The villain right now is Psycho Pirate and Bane, which is a combination that I don't think we've ever seen, or at least haven't seen in a while. And we get his relationship with Catwoman back, which is it's kind of a messed up relationship, but Well, she's evil right now, but I'm sure that'll change. And yeah, it's really good.
That's another one I want to catch up on. My number 2 is Captain America Steve Rogers. I've been reading Captain America comics for most of my life. Love the character. And love
Wait,
Steve
do you like Captain America?
a little bit.
Oh wow,
A little bit. Let's see. Yeah, there he is.
there it is.
But anyway, so Steve Rogers is always the Captain America. No matter what, I know that Steve Rogers will be back in the mantle. And currently it's great because I have 2 Captain America books that I can read. But the Steve Rogers books to me is the better one. I know they really pissed people off with that first issue and them kind of saying that Steve is now a agent of Hydra, that he's always been one because of the events of Pleasant Hill. But it's a great twist on the story where he's doing his thing and trying to show face to everybody else that he's still Steve Rogers, he's still Captain America, and he's still the lead of the Marvel Universe. But underneath the surface, he's working for Hydra and finding ways to, undermine S.H.I.E.L.D. and all these other things. And then the great twist with it was a few issues back where he says that he's going to kill Red Skull because Red Skull isn't bringing Hydra up the way that Steve thinks that Hydra should be. So it's just a great twist on that story, and it's not just the Man Out of Time storyline that we've had forever. It's kind of a revenge story with a little bit of Magneto thrown in there, so I highly suggest picking that up.
Yeah, I mean, people complain about it, but it's almost like, yeah, but how much publicity did that get? Like, people come up to me at work like, hey, did you hear about Captain America? I'm like, yeah, I heard. Like,
yeah,
like
it works.
CNN was like, this just in, Captain America is the agent of Hydra. And it's like, oh my god, everywhere. Billboards were going up. People were shouting in the streets.
Because everybody should love Captain America.
My number 1 is Birthright. Geez, I don't even know what issue they're on now. They got to be close to issue 30. Published by Image Comics. Written by Joshua Williamson. Art by Andre Bresson. It's the story of a kid who goes lost in the woods. That while he was lost in the woods, he's actually gone for 20 years. When really he comes back and he's a champion fighter from this fantasy realm, and it's awesome. There's a lot of mythical lore that goes along with it, but basically there's this keeper of magic on Earth, and he's possessed by a villain from the other side of the realm, and it's pretty crazy. I'm always a huge fan of the storylines where you have to, there's like 4 main bad guys or like 4 people that you need to fight, and they all have these special type of powers or special types of techniques of fighting. Like I call it like the Mortal Kombat plot, where you have to like get through each sub boss to get to the final boss. I don't know. I love those storylines, but it's really good.
Cool. My number 1, and little PSA here. I tried really hard and went up and down trying to find a way to not make my top 3 all Marvel, but it just happened to fall down that way.
Oh well.
My number 1 is Thor: Goddess of Thunder. If you haven't been reading Jason Aaron's Thor run, it's the best comic that's out. The whole changing Thor to a woman, and spoiler alert from like 2 years ago, it's Jane Foster.
Dun dun dun.
Wasn't just a thing to do to get publicity. It really does fit into his story, and the things that she's doing that only she can do are very interesting. And then on top of that, there's the subplot, the fact that regular Jane Foster, has cancer and is dying of cancer. And
oh man,
one of the really neat storylines that kind of adds conflict inside of her is that every time she turns into Thor, the Thor transformation will cleanse your body of all poisons. So any chemo that she has done to help her cancer is then shuffled right out of her body. So she's basically doing chemo just to save face and has to struggle with the idea of, well, do I transform into Thor? Because if I do, I am slowly killing myself by doing so. It's a great storyline.
Damn.
I really suggest people picking it up.
That's pretty crazy.
Okay. So that's all for comics. We also like movies on this show. I don't know if anyone knows that.
Yeah, I guess we watch movies sometimes. I don't know.
So we figured...
Put on the old...
We figured the Oscars
Put on
would
the
look
old...
it up, so we'll do our own.
Yeah.
Your top 3
True.
best movies of 2016.
My number 3 is Doctor Strange. Because that was cool. You took Benedict Cumberbatch and you made me stressed out that he was operating on people, and then 50 minutes later he's casting spells, fighting Mads Mikkelsen, and I didn't even bat an eye on how that transition went because it was fantastic. Yeah, that movie is great. So there you go. There's one for Marvel, folks.
That was a really good movie. My number 3, Sausage Party.
Oh, I forgot about that movie. Oh my god.
I was going to put... My number 4 would be Central Intelligence. If you haven't seen Central Intelligence, it's really great. The Rock is fantastic. But, so I'm sitting there and I'm going through the movies of this year and I saw Sausage Party and I remembered it. And I said I have to give it to Sausage Party because as great as Central Intelligence was, I haven't laughed that hard at a movie and I can remember.
Yeah.
Sausage Party is just a great, great comedy. It's very raunchy, it's very immature, but it works. And if you like that sort of thing, it's just a great movie.
Chris just described himself.
Yeah, that's the other thing, is that's my style of humor.
Raunchy and immature. That's
Raunchy
Chris.
and immature. So that's also a good reason for why I loved it.
Yeah, that movie was really great. It was just, they didn't hold back.
There's a food.
All right, my number 2,
end, guys.
Yeah, crazy food orgy at the end.
Spoilers.
I almost forgot that this movie was in 2016. 10 Cloverfield Lane is my second one.
I never got a chance to see that.
That is awesome because first off, Cloverfield was. I really liked Cloverfield. I probably saw it 5 years later than I should have, but I still nonetheless have seen it a few times. It was part of that universe, and that's all it really was just taking that name to be part of the universe. But you're in a house for basically an hour and a half, and it really is just all up to these 3 people to act their way out of it and keep you entertained. And John Goodman, that is probably his best role in the last 10 years, easily. He's a genius to begin with, but that man can act, and holy crap, that was the one that might have been the best performance out of any character I've seen for 2016.
One of the most underrated actors of the past 2 decades.
Yep. And he was playing a character that, had some psychological issues, definitely some dark things happening in his past, but it was fantastic. And then we get to see a couple aliens at the end, which is always nice. But yeah, that's my number 2.
My number 2, I'm not going to go too much into because we are going to do a complete spoiler cast at the end of it. But Star Wars Rogue One.
Spoilers, nice.
Spoiler alert. The Death Star survives. Your number 1?
Yep. They build a Death Star. My number 1 is actually Rogue One. So.
Okay.
Wow, we actually had a list where we crossed over with one thing.
And then my number 1 is Captain America: Civil War.
Yep.
still, in my opinion, the best comic book movie to ever be made. It did a great job of blending all the characters together, calling back to old movies, and using these characters from these movies we've watched for years now and brought up emotions through that. I think it's the best example of how a shared universe can work and just elevate itself by being a part of it. And plus Captain America.
Plus Captain America is in the title,
So yeah, that is our awards.
Yeah, there it is. We got through them. We did it.
On a little bit of a personal note, I wanted to thank everybody for our first year. Like Mike said in the beginning, we've had some ups and downs with technology and other things. I'm having a hard time speaking, and I am still learning things as well as YouTube and a few other stuff. But I think we've come a long way, and I want to thank everyone who listens and watches.
For sure. Yeah, we're getting the hang of this thing. Getting into our groove. But there is a way to thank the fans and the listeners. If I think I have an idea.
Do you know?
Yeah, it's I think we should do a giveaway. Is what I think.
What kind of giveaway, Mike?
Oh, well, I'm glad you asked that, Chris. Well, we have here today on our show.
This wasn't planned.
One of our favorite storylines, The Dark Knight Returns. We have a previews exclusive Joker Dark Knight Returns pop figure. And if you look at his little face, yeah, he's the Joker. It's the really brolic Joker. He's a little top heavy. His chest is a lot bigger. He definitely skips leg day for sure. But probably one of the coolest Jokers out of all the Jokers. So Chris is going to give you the details. I just get to hold the pop figure, but he's going to give you the details on how to win this bad boy.
So basically what I want you to do is I want you to go to facebook.com/Fortress Comic News. I'm going to have the link to this pinned to the top. When you go in there, it's going to ask you to do a few things, like our Facebook page, tweet about the YouTube channel, and ask your people to subscribe. There will be a thing that prompts, you click on it, and it automatically sends out through your Twitter account. And then follow me on Twitter and subscribe to the YouTube channel. You do all these things, you're entered. There's different point values to it, so if you choose, there's a few that are mandatory, and if you choose to do those and not the others, that's fine. It still enters you. Just if you choose to do everything, you have more of a chance. The link to this will be, like I said, pinned on top of the Facebook page. It'll be in the show notes for both the YouTube and iTunes version.
Yep.
And will be on my Twitter as well, pinned to the top. So you have all those ways to find it. Plus, if you go to the website, fortresscomicnews.com, I will have a link on there as well.
Awesome.
And if you do win...
So you heard it.
If you do win, we will require your email address and shipping address. The only reason we're going to need that is because Mike has to ship that thing out to you.
Yeah, if you can get it out of my greedy little hands, I don't know. It looks pretty good in my collection of all my Batman pops and then one Joker. So we're going to have more giveaways like that coming up, but that's just one of them. Now, for the moment we've been waiting for.
Real quick, 2017 has a lot to offer. So we got more giveaways coming up planned.
Yep.
And possibility of new stuff coming up. I don't want to promise anything because we're bad with promises, but we do have a few things in the works. And I just want to remind everybody that we are still doing Let's Play series on our YouTube channel. I've started 2 new ones. By the time you're listening to this, Manuel Samuel Part 2 is up, and I started Saturday Morning RPG as well. So check those out. They're a lot of fun. And Batman's The Telltale series is complete and up for your viewing pleasure. And then make sure to go on. Well, enter the contest. You can do all this, but make sure to go to facebook.com/FortressComicNews. Give us a like. Go to Twitter @FortressChris and follow me. And if you're watching this on YouTube, like the video, subscribe to the channel, share it with your friends. We really appreciate it. And if you're listening to this on iTunes, we would appreciate a 5-star review with your thoughts on there. Anything you guys can do, really appreciate it and helps out. And for anyone who hasn't seen Rogue One, I bid you adieu. We are going to do a full spoiler on Rogue One.
Full spoilers!
So we're going to give you a few minutes to leave. We'll wait.
Yeah, we'll wait. We're doing the spoilers of Rogue One, the new Star Wars movie, if you haven't seen it.
Are you gone yet? Why are you still here?
Yeah. Was that a Ferris Bueller reference? Oh, man. Nice. Okay, here we go.
Both liked Rogue One. I'll let you start.
I give it an 8 out of 10. 8 out of 10 lightsabers. Okay, so first off, we got all this good stuff happening. It felt more like an original Star Wars movie to me than Force Awakens did. There wasn't too much action, and when there was action, talking about the last action sequence, there was it was an epic battle scene. Donnie Yen stole the friggin' show, dude. His character and his friend were probably the two most interesting characters. There was laughs, there was crying, there was drama, there was all those things that make a Star Wars movie a good movie. And then, it's at that. So, I'm just going to say I really liked it. I give it 8 out of 10. There's certain scenes I want to talk about with you, but I'll let you talk about how you thought of it, and then I have some speculation to talk about.
Yeah, and then we'll probably jump up and down and back and forth. I'd say the same, 8 out of 10. It was a really good movie. I agree with you in most senses that it felt more like an original trilogy movie, except for the fact, and I like this fact, that there was almost no Jedi. Well, there were no Jedi, but there was almost no Force users, not counting what's his name, Donnie Yen.
Yeah.
And when they did have a Force user, Donnie Yen, he wasn't a Jedi or a Sith. He was something else. I really like as somebody who reads a lot of the extended universe stuff, it really came close to home for me because it's a lot of the stuff I've read over the years. I was so happy to see the Jedha and the temple tumbled like that. It reminded me so much of different books and comics I've read. I love the addition of what was his name? K2, the robot.
K2SO4?
Yes, he was hilarious. Probably, honestly, you say Donnie Yen stole the show. I think the robot stole the show. I thought he was one of the best parts of the movie. And when he died in the end, I came as close to tears as I did from the last Star Wars when Han Solo died.
How metal was him killing himself, though? That was
yeah.
He was like, all right, I'm going to close the blast doors. I'll see you guys later. But then I didn't realize him closing the blast doors meant he was going to headbutt the console.
Yeah.
He was just see ya, headbutt, explosion.
The characters fit in the universe really well. It kind of added a dark tone to the rebellion, and there's a line that you're no better than a stormtrooper. It kind of hit home with the fact that these are also people just following orders, and when they finally decided to not follow orders, they did this amazing thing. And we'll get into it, but a lot of the tie-ins and explanations from that go into the original trilogy are some of my favorite parts. So we'll start there.
Yeah.
Probably my favorite thing in the whole movie was the fact that they explained why there is a hole in the Death Star that if you shoot a torpedo in, it blows up the whole damn thing.
Yes, they finally explained George Lucas's poor writing. They're finally we can fix George Lucas's blemish. We can't fix the blemishes in the new trilogy, but we can fix this one blemish.
The fact that Jin's father worked for the Empire, but was secretly trying to make himself useful and valuable so that they wouldn't kill him.
Yeah.
And was the engineer behind the Death Star, but the whole time was doing that so he could put that one flaw in for the rebellion to use.
And it's funny.
Plot point.
Two things. Number one, I never want to be an engineer for the Empire.
No.
Because if you're not the top man on the totem pole, you're getting shot.
Even if you didn't fuck up and he did.
Also, it doesn't seem like there's either a union working environment or any type of OSHA either, because there's no one looking out for those employees. Yeah, so I think the biggest thing for me was the mining of the crystals on the planet Jedha. There's always been speculation how the lightsaber is built. We find out that it channels the energy for the saber through a crystal off the planet Jedha. Which is funny because Jedha sounds a lot like Jedi, which makes me think that the origin of the Jedi is related to that planet somehow.
Well, that planet originally had one of the biggest temples
in
the universe for the Jedi. That was like the place where Jedi went to finish their training. So that's part of the whole backlore.
Come to find out, the Death Star is powered by the same crystals. So I found it really interesting that not only the crystals that are used to keep peace and restore order to the galaxy through the Jedi is also for this massive destruction of planets and ruthless killing. It also sparked an idea in my head to think, okay, well, since if you hit a lightsaber with a lightsaber, they can't cut each other, right? So say the Rebellion just build a giant lightsaber. Could they block the Death Star with it? Like, could it be just they go to shoot a planet and they're like, fire up the lightsaber. It's like, and it's like as big as a planet, and the lightsaber deflects the Death Star beam. What do you think?
I guess you could. But
it's the same energy, right?
That would be a funny skit where that actually happens, and then it just blows up a different planet.
It deflects and hits another planet. Hey, if they're doing Spaceballs, that should be part of it.
Well, the Schwartz Awakens.
Schwartz Awakens. So that was pretty cool. That was like a kind of an oh shit moment for me.
I really liked I forget the actor's name, but the guy who played Bail Organa coming back.
Yeah, he was back. He came back.
And his two little lines about he had a line about Leia, and then he had a line about Obi-Wan and going to find him. Just all these things that tie back to A New Hope just made me so happy.
Yeah, Bail Organa, obviously Leia's father, for anyone who didn't know that.
So, the only thing that bugged me about the whole movie.
Yep.
Okay. And I know they had to do it, but it bugged me. Tarkin.
Yeah, the CGI Tarkin.
Now, Tarkin was CGI. And there's two things that really bugged me about that. First, it was it was really good CGI, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But I knew it was CGI the whole time.
Yep.
And then two, they kind of bloated his face a little bit,
and
he looks like Snoke.
Yes.
So people kept asking me, you think he's Snoke? It's there's no way. And I'll eat my words if I'm wrong, but there is no way Tarkin is Snoke. Tarkin is not known to use the Force. It would just be so weird if they made that connection.
We don't know. That's his thing, though. We don't know if Snoke can use the Force. All he said was come back here to complete your training. That doesn't mean he's involved in the training. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you make a good point. I always got the idea that he was some sort of Force user, like the Emperor. If they cut to a scene where the first Death Star is blowing up, and
Tarkin gets hit in the face with a piece of shrapnel, and that's why he has a giant gouge in his head. And then they fast forward to him being Snoke. That'd be pretty badass.
I guess.
The guy was ruthless, though. I mean, so, we had I can't remember the name of the other villain. Anyways, but...
yeah, the guy who wasn't General Tarkin.
Yeah, but, I mean, they obviously had a villain that you could just one-off, but it was kind of... You almost felt bad for him because, you see how ruthless the Empire is. Oh, well, you built this. Well, I'm going to take the credit because you suck.
Yeah. This is a guy doing his job.
Yeah. You don't get to that position where Tarkin is without stepping on a few toes. Um, so yeah, I mean Tarkin, you can definitely tell with CGI, and then at the end we finally get to see Leia, who looked a lot better CGI than Tarkin.
Yeah, and I had that conversation because I went with my girlfriend and we were talking about that because I was talking about how Tarkin bothered me,
Yeah,
and then she said, "Well, what about Leia?" And I said, "Leia didn't bother me because Leia was real quick and it was one
Yep.
line,
yep.
and it didn't give me enough time to really,
To analyze
recognize in
it.
my brain."
Yeah.
That she was CGI. I mean, I know she's CGI, but visually, I sat there and said, like, that's actually really good. So I didn't mind her as much.
They're getting close though. I mean, they're still in that uncanny valley area slightly, but they're Disney has almost made it to where they could just put whoever the hell they want in a movie.
Oh yeah, they don't even need actors anymore.
Yeah, it's very strange.
So for that last scene, when Vader appears and he goes onto the Star Destroyer and then
Yeah.
follows them onto the ship, the scene where he's just taking out rebels
Yeah.
and he's just walking very casually and using the Force, like that's when we talked about the Vader comic earlier.
Yeah.
That's the Vader I want to see more of. I want a solo movie with that Vader.
Can we just
Just
get
so
Vader in a
ruthless.
hallway for 2 hours?
Just him being so ruthless and badass. Like he is
Yeah.
so much. Nobody ever gives him credit for how powerful he can be,
Yeah.
and because he's kind of
Dude,
just slow and
and-
sluggish in those
And
movies.
he was true. I think we talked about this before. We were speculating that, I mean, being the director of Godzilla and how we don't get to see Godzilla until the very climax of the movie, he treated Vader like, the shark in Jaws. And like they're looking into the blackness, and all of a sudden you hear, bzzz, and you're like, oh shit!
Oh,
Like-
that scene just. It reminded me so much of if you've ever played The Force Unleashed.
Yeah,
Force Unleashed opens up with this scene where you are Vader on the Wookiee home planet, and you are just walking very casually, killing everything in sight.
it's
and
awesome.
it's my favorite scene in any video game. And that's
Yeah,
what that ending scene reminded me of him just I'm just walking around, shooting shit, and throwing people to force choke, and
My one problem with that scene is he didn't just use the Force to grab the plans out of the guy's hand, right?
god damn it, I never thought of that.
So he slices through like 12 different guys. He gets stopped by a door, and then he doesn't use the Force to grab the plans of the Death Star. Like, dude, Jedis are so much more. How do you like? They're more conservative with the Force because they use it for good, like smart
Yeah.
things instead of just killing people.
So there were two big Easter eggs that I loved, and I mean, there's a bunch, but there's two that really hit home for me. One is Forrest Whitaker's character
Yep.
was a character straight out of the Clone Wars cartoon,
Yep.
who will be returning in Rebels. And then the other one that like got me giddy, like literally, my girlfriend just looked at me like, "What the fuck is wrong with you?" Was when the whole Rebel fleet comes in, you can
Yes.
see in the bottom corner the ghost from Rebels. The ship is there from that cartoon, so they actually.
Oh,
added that
really?
in as
No
kind of like
way.
an homage, yeah.
Dude,
There's
I
a
didn't
few
see that.
others.
That's so awesome.
Because
Yeah.
a few characters from Rebels are actually one's in the movie and one's kind of mentioned. The one that's in the movie is one
Yeah.
of the droids.
Okay.
But yeah, so other
There's-
scenes
okay.
I really liked. So
The Easter egg was the blue milk in the beginning.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is about farmers drinking blue milk, but obviously they threw the Easter egg of C-3PO and R2-D2 in your face. I think that was there just to say that those are the only two characters in every Star Wars film.
yes, there was also, I forget it now. There's a line that's in every Star. I didn't realize this till the other day. It's in every Star Wars movie.
I have a bad feeling about this.
Yes,
Yeah. Well, it almost was in this one. Almost.
it was in this one.
Yeah, he says it, but then he goes, "I have a bad feeling about it," and then they cut him off.
Oh yeah.
What else?
But let's chat about like the final scene where they go to the planet to steal the Death Star plans,
and everybody dies.
and yeah, everybody dies.
I knew I'm like they have to all be dead. But first of all, obviously we get to see Red and Gold Leader, which was awesome.
Yeah. The guy who had Luke's call sign before him was in this movie too, and I forget the call sign, but he dies setting up Luke.
We got to see the desperation of the rebels with first of all, you gave me more of Admiral, not Akbar, but Admiral. I can't remember his name, but dude, that was my favorite part. Every time that guy spoke, the guy from Calamar, I was like cheering for him. I was like, "Fuck yeah, yeah!" Like, yeah. He was just like observing and speaking, and I'm like, "Yes!"
It's my favorite species in all of Star Wars.
Oh my god, just do a movie about them. But when he's like, I have a plan. We're gonna get what does he call it? The Corvette or the A Corvette or something, and
Yeah.
they take the Hammerhead ship, and they disable one of the Death Stars. They Hammerhead ship it into the shield, defensive shield. Oh, it was awesome.
Which was another callback to Clone Wars.
So good.
Yeah, that whole part, like when they're on land and they're just blowing shit up, and the AT-ACTs come out and start attacking. The scene that was in every trailer, where he shoots the bazooka.
Yep.
But it was so much more badass because when we saw it this time, we saw the full thing where it hits the head and it looks back to shoot at him.
Yep. And there was a good scene with Donnie Yen's character going to shut the machine down. They almost explained why stormtroopers are so bad at aiming, and I almost wonder it's because, like, if you sense the Force and you're one with the Force, they obviously should have hit Donnie Yen because he was out in the open. But I think it almost leads people to miss their shots sometimes. Like if you're one with the Force.
Yeah.
And I would almost believe that if a stormtrooper is shooting at you, they're going to miss like 85% of their shots. Yeah. And I think they almost explain why they're so shitty at shooting at the heroes.
His buddy there too, the guy with the Gatling gun.
The big gun, yeah.
Yeah. Probably my favorite character just because he had a badass gun.
And when Donnie Yen takes out a friggin' TIE fighter with his like boomerang shot thing, dude. Oh my god,
that was sweet. Yeah.
Everything was. I need to go see this movie 10 more times.
So yeah, how many times have you seen it?
Once, just once.
Right. I've seen it twice.
You've seen it twice? Damn.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there was that whole final battle scene was fantastic. We get to see Leia and how they stole the plans of the Death Star, and so good. Everything was fantastic.
Yeah. So, needless to say, go see it.
Go see it. Yep,
right.
For sure.
So, for everyone that stuck around for our spoiler of cast of Rogue One, it's an hour in. I'm having trouble talking.
It's been a long show so far.
We know it's time to leave. So thanks for sticking with us, and we will see you all next year.
See you next year, everybody.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for watching this video. Remember to subscribe to our channel. It should be right here. There's a little button. Yeah. Thanks for clicking that. Also remember to like and comment on our video. We love hearing from you and really appreciate it. Hope to see you next time.